Omyo. So basically, you should be having conspiracy parties at your home. You should be calling up all your friends, anybody that seems kind of interested in alternative information, non-mainstream stuff, and put out some cookies, tea and coffee, and have a nice chat about things, sort of, with the coffee table out and some books and some information. Get your computer out, all of the things you've downloaded, information you've been looking at, and have a nice, comfortable party. There's no reason, there's no reason why we have to be the whole Alex Junes, black, dark type of themed people about these things. Thinking back to the history of my consciousness shifts, I think my very first hoax that I understood was a hoax had to be the AIDS hoax, and that HIV doesn't exist, viruses don't exist, nobody's proven them. Nobody can take a sample of fresh blood and show you under a modern scanning electron microscope that viruses exist. And that one was health affirming. It was after my understanding that AIDS didn't exist, that there is a logic to who gets sick and who doesn't, and there is karma, and this got me thinking to my own behavior and morality and what I can do to be a healthier person. Actually, when I discovered the AIDS hoax, I was extremely unhealthy. This was 11 years ago, and I had 11 or 12 different conditions, problems, and it was horrible. My life was horrible, and understanding the AIDS hoax was a big step in the right direction previous to getting on the chastity bandwagon. The next hoax that I understood was the NASA moon landing hoax. And that one I found so funny. I was laughing for I was laughing for 2 weeks nonstop. I couldn't stop giggling to myself, laughing to even in my dreams and things. I couldn't stop just laughing. This NASA hoax stuff is so funny. Just the crappy, space modules, and they put them together with cardboard and gray tape and, Phillips head screws and several lighting sources, and they make sure to get the Merc out there and put a special light on it, and they have the most silly, low quality, crappy stuff. The moon buggy thing always cracks me up, that their story is that it's 200 degrees there, and then they show us tires that would melt. And then they have a picture of the buggy, which I recommend you look at. It's basically they took a couple lawn chairs and stuck that on top, and the straps, the nylon straps that they use on lawn chairs, those things, that's all coming apart. It's really funny. And so I found the NASA hoax to be, it gave me more health because I was laughing and having a good time. The next hoax that I figured out, I think, was the biggest one, and I hope all of you look into it, is our sexualized world. Basically the orgasm is it's not a big deal. It's just sort of like a cocaine rush or something. And then people are basically masturbating on top of each other or in each other, or, and then, raping each other, making each other dirty. And basically our creativeness becomes human excrement at that point if we're not making a family and doing something useful with it. And the basis of the entire control system that we have is represented in their mind by the star of Goloka, which is, in Hinduism, the abode of Krishna. Instead, they use it as a sex symbol because they think six sounds like sex, and they think it looks like a snake, and everything goes hiss, and hex means witchcraft, and then the triangle going up is a dick, and the one going down is a vagina. And so sex is the biggest scam. It's the biggest nothing of your life. Give it up. Do it with your wife and have kids, or, do really creative things with your life. Like Nikola Tesla, who has chased Michelangelo, or, the saints, Buddha and Jesus Christ. We need to really get past the sex hoax and get past the sexualization of society, which is so insane. They're dressing like 4-year-old girls up as whores and having dances and things. It's unbelievable the world we live in today. And then recently, the biggest consciousness shift that I've had is flat Earth. That's the one that's the biggest one that's happened after all of that. And the chastity thing got my health completely back, got my morality in shape. It did way too many things, amazing things, and there have been blessings, repeating. There's blessings continuing every year. There's sort of a new theme, so I can't really pin down the primary advantage of cracking that hoax. But the first stage was getting my money back in order. I all my money came back. The white elephant of chastity of Ganesha was the foundation that brought the riches, the riches and fame. And I bought a house in a year and a half. Can you imagine that? How many jobs, how many things I was doing. I wrote a book in Chinese. I did some really incredible things in my first year. And then, but the karma really hitting you. It's like, feeling sore after climbing a mountain. The karma is really hitting you too. I had a lot of karma to pay back. So my life was also really complicated at that time. Second year I got into the whole fame thing, getting on TV, getting big interviews, lots of attention. And so it's been wonderful. But every year is a new thing. And probably 3-4 years ago, all that karma stuff is pretty much washed out. I've just been so blessed. I can't fast for anything anymore. I can't pray really hard for anything anymore because there's no crisis. It's all solved. And then the flat Earth thing just completely conscious shifted. Just in the theme that is strongest with flat Earth for me is beauty, God's beauty, the beauty of our world, the divinity that we are, that the creation is, or the divinity that's within it. And it explains why when I see the sun rays coming through the clouds, I say, like, hi, God, And God's not in the sun. God's, localized probably above the North Pole, kind of like our own North Pole. Our consciousness is localized and it's not limited. And that's what I think God is too. And he's not very far away. He would be, in this model, 3,000, 4,000 miles up there. And at the top of that firmament there. And all this stuff is starting to piece together. The cosmology is the very basis of everything. It's the first page of the Bible. It's Genesis. It's why in Genesis 1, first chapter, 1:16, he said God made two lights. Not one light, and then the other is just fake. It just reflects the other one. That's kosher science. We're looking at two lights, that are pretty close to each other, and one is weaker than the other, which is the moon. And that's what it says in Genesis 16. And how important that must be to the way we view our existence, our life. It's incredible. It's earth-shaking, and I definitely view the world as a more beautiful place, and I sense my role in it as being more important. I feel God more. I see it all. The things we have to study to understand flat Earth are beautiful things. You know, the star circles and the way the constellations circle around us, and the pictures of these things. Yes, some of them are actually CGI that they do with the star circles, and but the general concept, the place where they start, you can point your camera at the North Star, the North Pole, the North Star Polaris, and watch it, go around. There's, serious implications for these things, but then these pictures, videos, time-lapse photography of the nature and what's happening with the sun and moon. It's gorgeous stuff. And you find that NASA and these, Masons, they don't put this stuff in the front. They show you all this crappy CGI in their stupid, silly movies, Jaime weird. I hate it. I really hate movies anymore. It's cold and fake. You remember when CGI was a bad word, when people would say, well, this movie has CGI in it, and people wouldn't want to watch that. It was like when I was a kid, they'd say, well, lip syncing, that was lip synced, so it's fake, and nobody wanted to listen to that song. Everything's lip synced now. Everything's fake now. The little girl lip synced the Olympics in Beijing. It's all, they CGI'd the fireworks in Beijing. These are just two simple examples. And I didn't watch those either. I just heard about it because I naturally don't like that stuff. I want to see reality. I want the truth. And the truth is really intense. It's beautiful. It's also unforgiving. If you don't clean up your life, if you don't clean the sin out of your life, you're not going to feel like this light of God is warming and wonderful. You're not going to see these images and think, wow, hi God, I really want to talk to you and understand you. You're going to start fearing it, because that's what purgatory is. The light of God burns when it hits a sinner, right? When this reality and this truth comes to them, it puts them in a lot of pain. So this guy having cognitive dissonance here at where I'm staying, we have this cafe here. He came in this morning and he was just flipping out. He's like, no, the earth is a spinning ball, and I'll tell you why. And he was so flipping out, and I'm sorry he has to feel that way. I'm sorry that he has to feel so tormented by reality, and that he's not smiling and he's not enjoying this ride that we're on. Well, thank you very much, and those are my conspiracy experiences. I hope you all throw conspiracy parties at your own home. Bye-bye, and Om. Om, y'all. So basically, you should be having conspiracy parties at your home. You should be calling up all your friends, anybody that seems kind of interested in alternative information, non-mainstream stuff, and put out some cookies, tea and coffee, and have a nice chat about things, sort of, with the coffee table out and some books and some information. Get your kids hoax and that HIV doesn't exist, viruses don't exist, nobody's proven them. Nobody can take a sample of fresh blood and show you under a modern scanning electron microscope that viruses exist. And that one was health affirming. It was after my understanding that AIDS didn't exist. Computer out, all of the things you downloaded, information you've been looking at, and have a nice, comfortable party. There's no reason, there's no reason why we have to be the whole Alex Jones, black, dark type of themed people about these things. Thinking back to the history of my consciousness shifts, I think my very first hoax that I understood was a hoax had to be the that there is a logic to who gets sick and who doesn't, and there is karma, and this got me thinking to my own behavior and morality and what I can do to be a healthier person. Actually, when I discovered the AIDS hoax, I was extremely unhealthy. This was 11 years ago, and I had 11 or 12 different conditions, problems, and it was horrible. My life was horrible, and understanding the AIDS hoax was a big step in the right direction previous to getting on the chastity bandwagon. The next hoax that I understood was the NASA moon landing hoax. And that one I found so funny. I was laughing for I was laughing for